I've often said that when I started out as a winemaker, all I wanted to do was make the greatest Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet blend, and never did I actually think that pinotage would be something that Simonsig is very well known for. And that eventually made me realize that it's sometimes not that our decision. We have to make what nature gives us.
So Dad, Simonsig and pinotage has a long history, but will you tell us more about why is it so important?
Yeah, Michael, the initial part of the history of Simonsig's pinotage was started in the mid-60s when Father Franz bought a second vineyard. So the first vintage was 1970, and the first wines that he bottled was in 1968. So 3 white wines only. Then came 1970, he had pinotage, and that was the first red wine that he bottled under the Simonsig label. And I still admire his guts to plant something that was relatively unknown and not yet proven.
There's some interesting stories that has come to pass over the years. You've told me about Simonsig also being one of the first producers to age pinotage in French oak barrels.
The story goes that in the late 60s, 1969, your grandfather and grandmother went overseas, visited France and Germany and all the European wine countries. And obviously when they got to Bordeaux, realized that all those great wines from the chateaus were matured in small French oak barriques. So he imported small French oak barrels from those days, and the first pinotages were actually matured in French oak barrels. But it was quite a novel idea at the time. It was at the start of the wine estate movement, which was quite uncommon in those days for a private wine grower to have his own label and bottle his own wine made in his own cellar. So it was the real beginning of the modern history of the wine industry. But then in 1989, when the first pinotage was put into new French oak by myself, that led to something which eventually created another new category, because somebody asked me, but what can you blend with pinotage? Which at that stage it was maybe in a dry red. We would have blended other varieties, but not at a higher level. So in 91 I used some Cabernet and Merlot, which were matured in also a new French oak, and I started making up little trial blends and see what would come out of that. Many years later, when pinotage was actually the new variety on the world scene, we had some really good old bush pine vineyards, and out of that the red hill pinotage was developed, and the first one was bottled in 1997. So we've had this long history with pinotage.